Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking through my Chanel vintage classic flat that I purchased, where I bought it from, what I paid for it, the quality, the condition, the wear and tear, what fits inside, a size comparison with my Chanel boy bag, and I'm also just going to talk about whether or not I think it's worth it, particularly given the recent price hikes by Chanel. I will have also just on screen kind of like a little index of when I'll be talking about which parts, so that you can just skip ahead if there's a particular part of the video that you would prefer to kind of watch if you've been thinking about buying one of these bags yourself. So first of all, I'm going to talk about exactly what it was that I bought, because I mean, you will have seen this in some of my videos and also over on my Instagram, I'm sure, but I got a vintage classic flat. This is in the lambskin and it's the medium size. I will maybe try and put the dimensions on screen. Obviously this is an older model, so the sizes may have changed slightly from what they're currently offering. The year it's from is 1997, which means it's gold plated, and yeah, that's I think all I really need to mention. It's also got the gold hardware. Now I bought mine from Fashionphile and I've gotten so many DMs about where I purchased mine and whether I would recommend it. And one of the things that I was really conscious about when deciding to purchase a vintage or pre-loved Chanel was that I wanted to be sure of its authenticity. There are so many super fakes out there, so many fakes out on the market, so definitely something that you want to keep in mind. And if you aren't 100% sure, you should always get it authenticated and make sure that there is a returns policy so that you can send it back if the absolute worst happens. So for that reason, I knew I wanted to go through a luxury reseller, because I figured if worst case scenario it turned out to be a super fake, I would be able to return it and get my money back. So that was something that was very important to me, and why I didn't go onto eBay, where you could probably get a better deal than what I got, because I'm going to tell you now when I talk about the price, I don't think I got a deal on this, but I'm happy with the price I paid just given the process. So that was kind of the reason why I wanted to go through a luxury reseller. And the other thing that I did actually in the process of purchasing this was so much research, so that I kind of knew what I should be looking out for and really had a sense of how I could authenticate it myself as well, just for that additional peace of mind. Now the whole process of buying from Fashionphile was very, very easy. They actually do a layaway program as well if you have your eye on something and you need a little bit of time to buy it and you don't want to miss out. Obviously with any kind of program like that, I do recommend making sure that you've read all the terms and conditions, because I think if you purchase with that program, you are not able to return your item. So do want to highlight that, but it is something that's available, and I haven't seen any other luxury reseller actually offer that service. I purchased this in January, and I think with the exchange rate at the time, it cost me about 4,500 Australian dollars, so a lot of money for a handbag. But given that Chanel handbags are $10,000 for the medium size right now, I do think that that was a really good price, because I was really pleased with the wear and tear, and being a vintage bag or one that's pre-loved, I don't feel quite so precious with this. I was saying to one of my girlfriends, I knew if I had paid full price, retail price for this bag, then I would be so much more delicate and I wouldn't be able to be carefree with it, and I'd probably just be so nervous that I was going to damage it in some way. And I will talk about wear and tear a little bit later in the video. Now the other thing I want to flag is that I did have to pay taxes and duties upon its arrival into Australia, and those cost me another $500. So all up the bag was $5,000, which was I think around the price that I paid for my boy bag, if memory serves me, which I've got total baby brain, so I have a really hard time remembering these sorts of things at the moment. But yeah, so that's the price. The whole service with Fashionphile, very quick, very effortless. It arrived really beautifully packaged. My bag did not come with a dust bag, which I think the resale market back in 1997 probably wasn't huge, so that was not something that worried me. It does have the authenticity card though, which was one of the things that was important to me. Now let's talk about the quality and the wear and tear. I can't really speak to the current season Chanel bags, but from a quality standpoint, I can see that this has been really well made and that a lot of care has gone into it. Actually, there are some really beautiful videos on YouTube which show you how a classic Chanel flat bag is made, and maybe I'll link those down in the description box below, because it really does give you a bit of insight into the whole process behind how the artisans actually craft these bags. But yeah, the actual lambskin leather is really nice and smooth, very soft. So it's quite a cloudy day, so the lighting might change abruptly, which I apologize for in advance. But yeah, it's, you know, from a quality perspective, just beautiful. There's no stitches which are coming loose at all, which given the bag is 23 years old, I think is incredible. The only kind of real thing that I've noticed, which I'll put down to the quality as opposed to actual wear and tear, is that there is some tarnishing here on the turn lock. Now, I do know that you can purchase a cleaning cloth or polishing cloth from Amazon, which will help to fix that right up, and I will leave a link if I can find it to the one that I'm planning to get, because I've just not gotten around to it. But yeah, there's just no kind of fraying or anything like that with the bag, and I do have it full, but hopefully that can give you a bit of a sense that there really isn't any kind of issues with the bag from that perspective. So I think very well made. It's held its shape incredibly well too, considering that it is lambskin. You know, there isn't any major kind of creasing or anything like that in the side. So wear and tear, now I did kind of buy this knowing that there was going to be some wear to it. I mean, it is a 23-year-old bag, so you do expect that. For me, there was just some minor corner wear, which is typical with a bag like this, and I've noticed people who have purchased theirs brand new have had the same sort of wear showing in those sorts of places. There is some marking on the interior here where the zipper meets the leather, which is again just one of those things that is to be expected with a bag like this, and just some minor scratching on the interior flap. Again, not something that I'm too fussed about, and I think if you did have long nails and you're constantly opening it like this, you are going to end up scratching it. And on the inside, again, it's actually just perfect. There isn't really any marking, and maybe I will do a bit of a close-up of what the interior looks like without anything in it. Yeah, and then on the back, it does have some very, very minor creasing just along the bottom here, which I think is just down to it not being stuffed when stored away. So one thing I have been very mindful of is just ensuring that I've stuffed it really well so that I can help uphold the integrity of the shape of the bag. But yeah, there's not really any kind of major scratches or anything like that, not even on the hardware or on the straps, and the leather that is woven throughout the chain strap is again just also in immaculate condition. There is no scratching to that leather, there's no kind of stitches or anything like that coming loose. So overall, it's held up incredibly well, and I have to say I believe that the person who owned this bag, maybe they didn't use it loads, but it does look like it's in very good nick. Even as someone who does, you know, put a lot of care into their bags themselves, I've been really happy with the condition in which it arrived in. And I thought it would be useful for any of you who do have the small boy bag for me to show you a side by side, or if you've been thinking about the two, perhaps this will help you to determine which one you'd like to go for. I have done a whole review on my Chanel boy bag, which I'm going to link up here in the cards if you're interested in going and watching that. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is the medium vintage classic flap, and then this is the small boy bag. And you can kind of see here that there is a little bit of height. Let's just put this in the center here. You can see that there is a little bit of additional height on the side. I would say that they're almost equal. I believe that the classic flap is possibly ½ centimeter wider. And then additionally from the front, let me just put it like that, you can kind of get a sense that it's also about 1.5 inches longer too. So you're going to be able to get a lot more in this bag. And I think from practicality sense, I would say that this is much more practical. I can fit all of my essentials in here, whereas with the small boy bag, I really do have to be quite considered and really curate what it is that I'm bringing with me. And I am finding that right now, for my current lifestyle as a mum, this is a little bit too small for me, whereas this is a really convenient size. Oh, I do want to also mention actually the weight of the bag. So as I said before, the bag is currently full, so it is feeling quite heavy, and having a full metal chain strap does mean that it is going to put a bit of weight on your shoulder. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And yes, I can wear it crossbody. It does sit kind of quite high up on the chest on me, which I personally don't mind. It's not really an issue for me, but I wouldn't be able to wear it that way in the winter time over a coat. There would just be too much excess fabric, and I think it would just sit a little bit too high up. For height reference, I'm 172 centimeters tall, and I do have a longer torso and shorter legs from a proportional standpoint. So yeah, that is kind of the size comparison and how the small boy bag looks next to the medium vintage classic flat. Now in terms of what fits inside, and I do have my phone here, so I'm just gonna pop that in so I can give you a really good kind of a bird's eye view of how it looks all stacked up. Now one thing I've been mindful of is not overstuffing it, because like I said earlier, I really want to try and maintain the integrity of the shape and also just look after my bag as well. That is something that is important to me, especially when you're spending so much money. So that is what it looks like when it is full from the top, and I can fit in it a medium-sized wallet. So the wallet I'm using at the moment is the Givenchy GV3 wallet. I've got the quilted leather version. I also have an A5 size notebook in here. It fits in really comfortably, and it doesn't actually hit the upper curve of the flap, which I think is really great. I've got the iPhone, do I have the 11 Pro Max? Is that what it's called? I've got an iPhone, it's the largest size. That is the, not the 12 which has come out, but the previous one. I've also got my key holder in here. I have a separate key fob for my car. I have a lipstick in here, a small perfume, and then also a hair bubble. And I could fit maybe another little lipstick in there as well if I so wish. So that's kind of everything that fits inside, and I do sort of feel like from a essential standpoint, that's kind of everything that I would need. If my car key fit into my key holder, then I would probably also be able to fit a small hand sanitizer in there as well, or I could skip the lip balm and put hand sanitizer in there in its place. So the big question here, is this bag worth it? And you know what, I'm gonna say this now, it's all relative. I think it all comes down to what point in your life you're at, you know, what your priorities are, what it is that you value, what brings you joy. I mean, this is a material object, so you could just go ahead and say, no, it's not worth it, because everything else in life, all your experiences are so much more valuable than this bag. I think when it comes to investing in a luxury bag, you really cannot go wrong with a Chanel classic flat. They go up in value every single year, especially with the most recent price increase. I mean, I recall when I bought my boy bag, it went up in price $1,200 in the 12 months after I purchased it, and that is an insane leap. So if you are thinking about buying a bag from an investment standpoint, you really cannot go wrong, and I would say that this would probably be your best bet. This or an Hermes Birkin or a Kelly. Yeah, so that is probably the first thing that I would say about it. Secondly, I kind of just want to talk about the price. Right now, a medium Chanel classic flap is going to set you back $10,000 Australian, which is a lot of money. I paid half that for my vintage bag, and I'm just going to tell you now, I'm getting just as much joy out of this as I would have if I bought it from the boutique. I personally am not that fussed about having that entire luxury shopping experience. For me, I'm the kind of person who tries to use their time as efficiently as possible, which is even more important now that I have a 7-month-old baby. So I want to go into the shops, I want to get what I need and get out, whereas I find when you're shopping luxury, it really does take a lot of time, and it's an entire process. I mean, you could be in the store for an hour and a half before you leave for a transaction that really could have taken you maybe 15 minutes. So that's another kind of thing to consider as well, is the time that you spend in the store and that entire process. So from that point of view, I do think that the price I paid for the vintage bag was 100% worth it, because I'm getting the same amount of joy and delight out of this vintage bag as I would from a brand new bag. The quality of it, as I mentioned earlier, I think is just exceptional. It is really held up, and to look at it, I don't think you would know that this was a 23-year-old bag. I think it looks like it's maybe only been owned for a few years, and to me that just kind of shows that this is a bag that, one, not only stands the test of time because it is a classic design and one that just doesn't date, but two, that it is well made, and that, you know, a lot of love and care has been put into the construction of this. And really, I've been very impressed by the fact that there aren't any loose stitches. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on whether the bag is worth it. Ultimately, it really does come down to your priorities and what it is that you're after in that very particular point in time. I do think if I was to condense my collection down and only have a handful of handbags, my Chanel Classic Flat is definitely one of the ones that would stick around because it just goes with everything. I feel like it elevates an outfit. It just really helps it dress up a super casual outfit. It's suitable for going out for dinner. It really does just work for so many different occasions, and it's one that I know I'm not going to get sick of, having wanted it for so many years. So yeah, that is my review of the Chanel Vintage Classic Flat. I hope that you found this useful, that it was helpful if you have been thinking about buying one. Fashionphile definitely is a great place to go. I've looked on there and on the Reel, so I will leave maybe some links to some of the bags that I've seen on those websites which look really great, like they're in good condition. And the price point isn't too bad. If you want to get more of a bargain, then you might like to look on eBay. Hey June here on YouTube, she often recommends a couple of different resellers on YouTube, so I will link to those in the description box below as well in case you would like to go that route. So yeah, that is it from me today. I hope that you enjoyed this. If there's anything I missed, any other questions that you have, please feel free to leave them in the comment section and I will do my best to get back to you in a timely manner. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week with a brand new video. See you soon. Bye.